Hello, my name is Shirley Foxnose, City Clerk for the City of Tampa, and this is Tampa's Oral Histories. Tampa's Oral Histories is a production of the City Clerk's Office and City of Tampa Television. Today we have the oral history of Frances Henriquez, another trailblazer and the first woman to become City Clerk for the City of Tampa. She is also the 2014 recipient of the Josephine Howard Stafford Award. Mrs. Henriquez has many memories of Tampa and much to tell about her time as City Clerk. Without further ado, let's hear from Frances Henriquez.
It was a very simple life. I can remember milk. It used to be delivered, the milkman, we had a milkman, and he used to come and bring the milk and leave it in the front porch in this little container. And that's how we got our milk. Of course, I would go and get the cream that would foam on top and drink that down before anybody else did. I think that used to make my mother kind of mad. And the streetcars, I remember riding streetcars and going to Franklin Street in a streetcar. And that was a big deal in my life at that time, being able to take a streetcar ride. Well, I started off at VME Bohr, the first grade there. My grandfather used to take me to school. No, he didn't take me to school, he dragged me to school. I would cry all the way there, and then I went to Washington, and then I went to Jefferson, and that's where I met my husband. Yeah. Okay. And I saw him go across the field there, and I said, "Who is that boy there?" And he said, "Oh, that's Wallace." I says, "I'm going to marry him." And by golly, I did marry him. So that's where I didn't get to go to college, because right after I graduated, June the 17th, 1949, I got married June the 19th, 1949, wow. Right after I graduated. Well, let me tell you, it was at Ybor City. My father worked for Mr. Buckman. He owned a retail store there. So my father told me, come see Mr. Buckman, because during Christmas he needs somebody to wrap up gifts. So I said, fine, I would love doing that. So he gave me the job, and the store was 2 stories, and we would do the gift wrapping up on the 2nd floor. And I would just embellish. I'd put these ribbons and this holly and all, and he'd come up to me, "Frances, you're putting too much ribbon. Remember, it's free. People don't have to pay, not so much ribbon." So I said, okay. So I wouldn't. But when he was out, they'd tell me, "Frances, he's gone." I'd start with the ribbons, and then when he'd come back in, "He's here," I'd go back to just one bow. Dick Greco, he brought me into the office because my boss, Bill Stark, was retiring. Okay. And at that time, the position was an appointed one. So I went in there and sat down, and he said, "Frances, I want you to run for city clerk." And I looked at him and was thinking to myself, this man's gone crazy. Me run for city clerk? A girl? I've never made a speech in my life. And he said, no, he said, "You'll have the support, you'll have my support." He says, "And it's about time that a woman got to be city clerk. We need women in office." So he was, yeah, he championed women in office. So I ran for city clerk, and there was, I think 3 men running against me. And I tell you, that was an experience that I think everybody should go through. And if they would go through it, they would be more, they wouldn't be as opinionated as about the people that run for office. Mm-hmm. They would be more loving and caring about running for office, because it's a job that It's hard running for office. I guess what I enjoyed the most was when I first got there. Tampa was a small town, more or less. Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle of it becoming a city. And when I left, it was a city. The mayors and the city council did a fantastic job. Just imagine, while I was there, the airport came in, the Performing Arts Center, the riverfront, the teams, the sports teams, and it was bustling, and I was right in the middle of it. Oh, just sitting there, just looking and taking it all in. Curtis Hickson. Wow. Yeah, and they asked me, one of the Mr. Guidry, the deputy clerk, Francis, you want to meet a mayor? I says, yes, but am I dressed okay? And he says, he starts laughing. He says, yeah, come on. So I walked to, which is where your office is now. That was the mayor's office. Okay. And I walked into his office, and it was a huge room, and it was kind of dark, and there was this humongous desk there. Oh, and there was this little voice in the back of the desk, and he said, Francis, I hear you're working for the city clerk's office now. And I said, yes, Mayor. So we had a little chit-chat there, and then of course he got busy, so we left. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Getty said, well, what do you think? I said, well, I heard him, but it was kind of dark. And, you know, I always thought that gentleman stood up when a lady walked in the room. And he looked at me and he said, he was standing, Francis, he's just sort of short. I would have liked to have taken a picture of the first mayor I ever met and every mayor that followed him, and I don't have it. But if I had to do it over again, every time they were sworn in, I would be right by them, sticking my head in there, sitting by them, and having the picture taken with them, and with council also. Get an agenda, go to council meetings, but keep your agenda positive. Keep your running for office positive. Nowadays, you see a candidate, instead of talking about what he's going to do for Tampa, what his goals are, they start attacking their opposition. And that's all you learn of what the bad things about the opposition. And what's really sad about that is that sometimes they get elected. And that's not good. Just get out there and say what you're going to, say who you are and what you stand for and what you're going to do for Tampa.